On January 3, 2024, a federal court in the Southern District of New York released a trove of documents that had long been sealed from public view. These files, part of the civil defamation lawsuit Giuffre versus Maxwell, contain sworn testimony, legal arguments, and intimate details about one of the most disturbing sex trafficking cases in modern American history. At the heart of these documents is Virginia Giuffre, who claims she was sexually abused and trafficked as a minor by billionaire financier Jeffrey Epstein and his longtime associate Ghislaine Maxwell. The documents not only allege how Epstein's operation worked, but also raise serious questions about his connections to some of the world's most powerful men, including, once again, Donald Trump. The legal proceedings against Epstein ended with his death in jail in 2019, officially ruled a suicide. But the lawsuits, and the scandal, did not die with him. And now, as more and more information emerges, we're gaining a clearer picture of the methods, the manipulation, and the systemic failures that allowed this network to flourish. In these unsealed documents, Maxwell is repeatedly described as Epstein's key enabler, a woman who helped identify, recruit, and groom young girls under the false promise of job opportunities, especially under the guise of massage therapy. Virginia Giuffre's legal team argues that Maxwell was not only complicit in Epstein's abuse, but active in it. According to Giuffre, Maxwell herself participated in sexual massages with Epstein, instructed girls on how to please him, and trained Giuffre to do the same to others. These aren't vague accusations. They're detailed claims made under oath, backed by other testimony and documents. But when Maxwell was deposed in 2016, her answers, what few she gave, often raised more questions than they answered. Throughout her deposition, Maxwell refused to answer dozens of questions, invoking privacy and insisting that anything to do with consensual adult sex was irrelevant to the case. Her attorneys repeatedly interrupted, objected, and instructed her not to respond. At one point she's asked, "Have you ever given Jeffrey Epstein a massage?" Her attorney cuts in, "I instruct the witness not to answer." When asked whether she had ever participated in a massage with Epstein and another woman, the same answer: refusal. When pressed about whether she had given career advice to young women like Johanna Schoberg, or encouraged them to provide massages to Epstein in exchange for money, she dodged the question, sometimes offering vague, almost corporate-sounding praise for massage therapy as a wonderful career opportunity. According to the documents, the recruitment process was shockingly consistent. Girls, some as young as 14, were offered cash to give massages. These would begin as seemingly professional but would often escalate into sexual acts. Giuffre alleges that Maxwell was fully aware of this pattern and actively trained her to bring in more girls under the same premise. One of the most disturbing elements of the unsealed filings is how Maxwell's legal team tried to draw a hard line between abuse and what they called consensual adult acts. But as Giuffre's attorneys argue, this distinction is both misleading and dangerous, because many of the so-called adults may have been minors when the abuse began, and because the entire operation blurred the line between consent and coercion. Among the many names mentioned in the documents, some redacted, some not, are individuals who moved in elite circles. One name that continues to surface in media coverage and public speculation is Donald Trump. Giuffre has stated in previous interviews, not necessarily in these documents, that she met Epstein while working at Mar-a-Lago, the private Florida resort owned by Trump. She said she was recruited into Epstein's network there. While she has not directly accused Trump of abuse, the proximity and familiarity raise ongoing questions. In the past, Trump acknowledged knowing Epstein and once famously said that Epstein likes beautiful women, many of them on the younger side. Flight logs confirm that Trump flew on Epstein's private jet at least once in the 1990s. He was photographed with Epstein and Maxwell at social events. None of this proves criminal involvement, but it does establish access. And access, in these cases, often precedes accountability. Maxwell's deposition reveals more than just denials. It shows her legal team's strategy to obstruct and control the narrative. When asked about specific encounters with underage girls or her own sexual behavior with other women in Epstein's presence, the answers are often, "I don't recall. I don't know. I was advised not to answer." She denied any inappropriate interactions, but Giuffre's legal team argues that Maxwell's evasiveness is a red flag, and that her denials directly contradict multiple witnesses. The documents show a repeated refusal to confirm or deny whether she had sexual contact with individuals like Johanna Schoberg, Annie Farmer, or Nadia Marcinkova, other young women tied to Epstein's operation. When asked directly, Did you ever have sexual contact with Johannes Joberg? Maxwell's attorney again interrupts. If it involves consensual sex, I instruct the witness not to answer. That kind of legal dance becomes its own form of silence. The documents also mention bizarre details, like Epstein's preference for nipple pinching during massages, and his routines involving multiple women at once. Some of these idiosyncrasies, according to Giuffre's legal team, help corroborate her account and distinguish it from fiction. What's also disturbing is the pattern of normalizing abuse through euphemisms like massage, therapy, or career advice. In one deposition, Maxwell talks about encouraging young women to explore massage therapy because it paid better than minimum wage jobs. But under cross-examination, she cannot or will not say whether she knew those massages turned sexual. This echoes a broader theme: plausible deniability. In high society, when power shields you, knowledge becomes slippery. People don't recall. Events are taken out of context, nobody sees anything, and somehow, nobody is responsible. Giuffre's attorneys argue that this strategy allowed Epstein's network to survive for years, despite numerous warnings, complaints, and allegations. At various times, local police departments, federal prosecutors, and even the press failed to pursue the story with the urgency it deserved. Victims were discredited, accusers were silenced, and Epstein's money bought silence in the form of non-disclosure agreements and settlements. The unsealed documents reveal not just a story of abuse, but of obstruction. They show a legal team willing to draw the line at every question. They show a defendant who claims she never saw abuse, even when surrounded by it. And they show once again how powerful people are insulated from consequences. Which brings us back to Donald Trump. Although he is not accused in this set of documents, his name, like Bill Clinton's and Prince Andrew's, continues to hover around the edges of the Epstein saga. The question is not only what they did, but what they knew, what they tolerated, what they allowed. And for the public, the question remains, will the truth ever be fully known? These documents are just part of what the court plans to release. More are expected in the coming months. More names, more testimony, more uncomfortable facts. For the survivors, it's another step toward validation. For the accused, another reminder that the past never stays buried. And for the public, it's a challenge. A challenge to confront a world where wealth and influence can hide even the darkest crimes. Because in the end, justice doesn't depend on who you know. It depends on who's willing to speak, and who's willing to listen. If you found this video helpful, subscribe and stay tuned. As more documents are unsealed, we'll continue to follow the threads, wherever they lead. Credits, written and narrated by the channel team.